Welcome back, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today, we're going on a bit of a journey, not across the globe, but into an incredible microscopic world that's literally hidden in plain sight all around us. If you've ever looked at a towering oak tree or, even just a tiny houseplant sitting on your windowsill and wondered how it actually survives, grows, and thrives without moving a single inch, well, you are in the right place. We're going to unpack the brilliant invisible architecture hidden right inside plant cells. It's a massive question, right? What actually powers the green world around us? Every leaf, every stem, every single blade of grass is built from tiny self-contained units that are constantly working, day and night. I like to think of them not just as biological building blocks, but as bustling, highly efficient, microscopic cities. And today, we're going to map out exactly how one of these cities operates. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our master blueprint for today's explainer. A beautifully clear hand-drawn diagram detailing the complete anatomy of a plant cell. What you're looking at here is a biological metropolis. If you count them up, this diagram expertly maps out 17 distinct components, all packed into a microscopic space. Each of these labels points to a structure that has a very specific, absolutely vital job to do to keep the plant alive. To make sense of this bustling city, here's our map for today. First, an overview of the plant cell. Second, the protective boundaries. Third, the central command. Fourth, the energy generators. And finally, manufacturing and storage. All right, let's kick things off with part one, inside the plant cell, an overview of our microscopic metropolis. Think about any major city you know. It's got borders, a city hall, power stations, and factories. Well, the plant cell is exactly the same, just functioning on a scale completely invisible to the naked eye. So the crucial point here is that we aren't just going to memorize a dry list of 17 biological terms today. That's not how we learn best. Instead, we're going to group these parts by their functional roles within our city metaphor. By understanding what a structure actually does for the cell, the vocabulary will naturally fall into place, and you'll walk away with a much deeper structural understanding of this whole biological marvel. Moving right along to part two, the protective boundaries, securing the perimeter of the cell. Every great city needs a way to define its borders and protect what's inside, right? First step is the cell wall. By definition, this is the sturdy, outermost boundary giving the plant its structural shape. Unlike animals, plants don't have skeletons. So how does a massive redwood tree stand hundreds of feet tall without bones? The answer is right here. Billions of these microscopic, rigid cell walls stacked together like little microscopic bricks, providing the primary defense and the structural integrity that actually allows plants to reach toward the sun. If you direct your eyes back to the diagram, you can see this clearly. Look at that thick, dark green outer border framing the whole shape. That's the cell wall. Just inside that, acting kind of like an inner security checkpoint, is a thinner line labeled the cell membrane. It controls what goods come in and out of the city. And filling all the space inside, basically acting like the ground or the fluid environment where everything operates, is the cytoplasm. It's the dynamic medium holding our whole city together.
Next up, part three, the central command, the mayor's office of our microscopic city.
So now that we've cleared security and entered the cytoplasm, we're heading straight downtown to administrative headquarters. Notice that prominent circular structure located toward the left side, drawn in red? That's the nucleus. It acts as the ultimate blueprint room, containing all the genetic instructions for everything the cell will ever do or build. And tucked right inside the nucleus is an even denser core, the nucleolus, which you can see perfectly depicted as a solid red circle. This is where the cell actually begins drafting the tiny machines it needs to survive.
Which brings us to part four, energy generators, powering the plant's daily functions. Now, obviously, a city can't execute its blueprints without power. And what's really interesting about this slide is the specialized division of labor. Look at the bright green oval shapes labeled chloroplasts. These are literally the solar panels of our city. They capture sunlight and convert it into food. And by the way, this is exactly why plants are green. But right alongside them, you'll see these red pill-like structures with folded inner lines labeled mitochondria. The mitochondria take that food and convert it into usable energy that the cell can actually spend to perform its daily tasks. It's a brilliant dual generator system.
Finally, part five, manufacturing and storage, the city's factories and warehouses. A functioning metropolis is constantly creating goods, packaging them up, shipping them out, and storing the excess for a rainy day. Just outside the central command, we find our factories. The diagram shows us these blue, folded, ribbon-like structures. These are labeled as rough ER and smooth ER. Now, if you check the bottom right corner of the visual, you'll see a very helpful note. ER stands for endoplasmic reticulum. The rough ER is studded with tiny workers called ribosomes, making it a primary factory for producing proteins. The smooth ER, which lacks those little dots, focuses on manufacturing other essential materials like lipids. They work side by side to supply the whole city. And this brilliantly illustrates the logistics network of the cell. Once goods are manufactured, they head straight over to the Golgi apparatus, that distinct wavy blue structure on the right side. It acts as the shipping center, taking products and packaging them into those little circular Golgi vesicles you see floating nearby. Finally, take a look at that massive, clear, balloon-like shape in the middle labeled the vacuole. This acts as a giant warehouse, storing water, nutrients, and waste products. Plus, by filling up, it pushes out against the cell wall to keep the whole structure nice and firm. Before we wrap up, to ensure our explainer covers the complete anatomical map, we really need to acknowledge the smaller, highly specialized businesses scattered throughout our city limits. Floating in the cytoplasm, you can spot ribosomes, acting as independent contractors. You've also got the peroxisome, which handles specific metabolic tasks, and the amyloplast, which stores starch. The diagram even captures incredible specialized mineral deposits like the star-shaped Druze crystal and the needle-like Raphide crystal. Believe it or not, these act as literal defense mechanisms against animals that might try to take a bite out of the plant. How cool is that?
So, we've mapped out the entire microscopic metropolis, from the sturdy cell wall borders, through the energy-generating chloroplasts, right down to the administrative nucleus. The scale and efficiency of this biological architecture are just staggering. Which leaves us with this final thought. If just one single plant cell is as complex and self-sufficient as a bustling city, what does that make an entire forest? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep feeding your curiosity, and I will see you in the next one.